Oh, God damn it. Oh, God damn. That movie kicked my ass. Oh my God. Just give me a second to catch my breath, man. Oh God, it was just non-stop crazy balls to the wall action. Okay. Round 2, baby. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and I'm here today to review the film John Wick Chapter 2. So John Wick Chapter 2 starts off with John Wick, obviously, as he ties up all the loose ends from the first film so that he can finally go into retirement. But unfortunately, an old acquaintance from his past by the name of Santino D'Antonio shows up at his house and says, "Hey, remember that pact we made a couple years back that gave you the retirement that you asked for? Well, I've come to collect. I'm calling you out of retirement for one more job." And John Wick looks at him and says, no, I'm not doing that no more. I'm retired. And then Santino looks at him and says, "Nice house," and then proceeds to blow his house up, which causes John Wick to say, "Okay, I get the message. I'll do this one more job for you, but after that, we're done. I'm not gonna do any more killing." And so he does this one job for Santino, and after doing this one job, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to postpone those retirement plans for now, John. You've got work to do. Now, the first John Wick was a sleeper hit. Nobody expected it to be as good as it was, but it defied all expectations and kicked all of our asses in the process. And in a day and age of countless sequels, reboots, and remakes, a sequel to John Wick was just inevitable. I mean, after all, it did make a ton of money, it was critically acclaimed, and a lot of people really enjoyed it, so the execs were like, you know what? Let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this money train on the tracks. Green light, and when I heard that they were making a John Wick 2, I was both really excited to see it, but also really hesitant to see it. I was excited because I wanted to see more badass action. If they kept the same type of action style from the first film, I was going to enjoy John Wick 2. But I was also very hesitant because John Wick reminded me so much of another sleeper hit that's in the same vein as John Wick, and that was Taken. Remember the first Taken and how awesome that was and how many people were demanding for a Taken 2? And then we finally got a Taken 2 and yeah, we all quickly regretted asking for a Taken 2. And I was a little scared that John Wick would follow the same path as the Taken franchise and create an unnecessary sequel that is just inferior in every way, shape, or form to the original. So again, I went in with very mixed feelings for John Wick, but I kept my mind open. Maybe it will surprise me, and honestly, as long as it had the same action as the first, I think I would have been satisfied. I'm just gonna state this right off the bat, guys. John Wick Chapter 2 is a fine example of how to make a movie sequel. It took everything that made the first film so great, memorable, and entertaining and builds off of it. And it completely avoids the Taken 2 trap and is not just a rehash of the first film. It tells its own unique story and builds upon the world of John Wick. First off, can we please talk about the technical aspect of this film? Because my goodness, this is one of the most well-shot action films I have ever seen. I was completely blown away by the techniques that they used in this film. It's probably one of the best things about John Wick Chapter 2 besides the orgasmic action, which we will talk about in more detail later. The cinematography is excellent, a vast improvement from the first film, especially during their action scenes, with very little use of shaky cam. In fact, it's so minute that you don't even notice it. But what was so incredible about the cinematography and camera work was how inventive and creative they were with their camera angles and the placement of the cameras, especially during the climax of the film, which takes place in a building of mirrors, and not once did I ever catch the camera in the mirrors. Now, they could have digitally enhanced these scenes so that they could remove the camera in the mirrors, but there was a scene where two characters are fighting in literally a box of mirrors, and they were moving around the room and the camera was moving with them, and I never noticed an edit. I thought that was so amazing. I was mind blown by the cinematography. It was so good. And another thing that really blew me away, literally, was the sound. Man, the sounds just blast right at you. There is a gunshot in this scene that literally startled me, even though I knew it was coming. It was so loud and abrasive that I'm like, oh, man, I felt the impact of that shot. The sound mixing and editing truly helped to immerse the audience into the film. But let's get the most obvious praise out of the way, the action scenes in this film. They are orgasmic. They are just as good, if not better, than the action scenes that were in the first John Wick. And they still have that amazing mix of gunplay and hand-to-hand combat. I mean, I could not get enough of these action scenes. They were riveting, they were exciting, just seeing Keanu Reeves just shooting fools in the head, in the knee, in the belly, and I think it was Real School who brought this up in his review for John Wick, the first one, how Keanu Reeves, the way that he uses his gun is the way that a samurai would use his sword. Very meticulous, precise in how he uses it. And you really see that with John Wick because he plans out where he's gonna shoot. Sometimes he'll just wait, shoot you in the leg, then shoot you in the head. Maybe he'll shoot you in the belly and then shoot you in the head. You can tell this guy is at home with guns. He knows a gun inside and out, and he knows ways to use it that most people don't. Now, the story here may not be anything special or unique. I mean, we've seen this type of story in action films before, but it's very effective and quite compelling. I was fully invested in the story of the film, especially in the second half where shit hits the fan. I could not take my eyes away from the screen. Although I think that's mostly contributed to the badass action that was on screen. I mean, the second half is just non-stop action, guys. If there was a solitary element in the story that truly stood out to me, it would be just how freaking fascinating this world is and the inner workings of this criminal underworld society. They shine more light on their society and how it functions, who's at the top and what their rules are. And I do like how everybody who's a part of this underworld society treats everything very casually and calmly. And you know what? That's actually quite refreshing. I like that, and I like the sense of history that all the characters have with each other. It's not really spoken, it's very subtle, but you kind of get an understanding of what their relationship was like in the past and what their relationship is like right now. God, who would have thought an over-the-top, in-your-face action film would actually have some hints to subtle storytelling. And finally, a majority of the characters were a lot of fun to watch, especially John Wick. I mean, this guy is just a freaking badass, and Keanu Reeves just owns it in the role, at least with the action scenes. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Ian McShane's character is still cool, and Ian McShane just kills it in everything that he does. I mean, have you seen this guy in Westwood? He's incredible. And also Common was pretty good in the film too, and I liked his character, although his character is a bit stoic and doesn't really say that much, but I think that is the point of the character. The characters aren't emotional. They don't speak their mind most of the time. They just kind of do what they need to do, and that's the point of the film. And I do like this whole unspoken history between Common's character and John Wick. I would love to see them explore that more in the next film. And the last thing that I absolutely loved about this film was its ending. I won't give it away, but let's say that the ending is very reminiscent in tone to The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, holy hell, I am so excited to see what is next for John Wick because wow. It's gonna be one hell of a ride for John Wick Chapter 3, I can tell you that. But unfortunately, now comes the part where I break some of your hearts as I discuss some of the many issues with John Wick Chapter 2. And my biggest issue with this film is with the villain. Just like in John Wick, the villain is very underwhelming and lackluster. I mean, I know he's not supposed to be this grandiose, over-the-top villain that's trying to, like, take over the world, or in this case, take over the criminal underworld society, which he kind of is, but not really. He just wants a seat at the table, but there's just nothing really interesting about him. He just comes off as a weasel, a slimy little snake. I just didn't like the character, and I didn't find him all that interesting. Personally, I would love to see an antagonist that's able to challenge John Wick both on a mental level and on a physical level. Basically, his own Bane. And maybe we might get that in Chapter 3, I don't know. But so far, most of the villains have been underwhelming, and they just don't pose a threat to John Wick, and that was always a problem to me. I would like to see a bit of a challenge from Mr. Wick, please. And speaking of Mr. Wick, my next problem with this film is with Keanu Reeves' performance. Now, granted, he does really well during the action scenes, and he does pull off the badass persona. I was convinced that he was a badass. But when it came to the dialogue scenes, or when he was trying to emote or have an emotional scene, it just didn't register. I did not believe his performance. And honestly, I don't even think he was trying. Like, it didn't even sound like he put any effort. There's a scene where he's talking to Santino, one of the first dialogue scenes in the film, and he's just talking to him so passively as if he just didn't give a damn. He's just like, no, I don't want to do this right now. Have a good day. I mean, seriously, Keanu, what was that? What was that kind of performance? You give 150% during your action scenes when you're being a freaking badass, but when it comes to trying to have a good dialogue scene, you just completely phone it in? No, man, you gotta give 150% throughout the entire film, man. Come on. Put more effort there. And my final issue with John Wick Chapter 2 also deals with the character. Lawrence Fishburne's character. Now, they were promoting the hell out of the fact that Lawrence Fishburne was in this film. People were saying, oh my god, Neo and Morpheus reunite at last. This is the first film that Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne have been in together since the Matrix trilogy. So it's been about 12 years since they've been in a movie together. So it is pretty exciting to see them back at it again. And I will say that the scenes that they shared, I still felt chemistry between them, strangely enough. And Lawrence Fishburne's performance in its entirety wasn't that bad. In fact, he was having a lot of fun with the role. I could clearly see that. My problem is that for all of that hype, for all of that build-up saying, oh my god, Lawrence Fishburne's in the film, his character is pretty insignificant in the entire scope of the story. Yeah, sure, he helps John Wick with one thing, but I felt like that was more or less written into the story so that we can give an excuse to bring this character to the forefront and give it to somebody like Lawrence Fishburne. At least for me, that's what it came off to be. It's such a toss-away character. It could have been played by anybody. It didn't have to be Lawrence Fishburne. And if they were going to hype up the fact that Lawrence Fishburne was in this film, why not make him the antagonist? Why not make him a bigger part of the story? As it stands, his character's very minimal, which I found very disappointing. Especially because what his character was actually pretty interesting, and I would have loved to see more of him in the film, but nope. Don't get a lot of him in the film. But overall, guys, besides those few problems, I had a freaking blast watching John Wick Chapter 2. It was just a non-stop, fun, entertaining thrill ride through and through, and it is definitely one hell of a film, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys go check it out. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all, be-all opinion when it comes to John Wick Chapter 2. I would love to know what you guys thought about this film as well. Did you thoroughly enjoy it as much as I did? Is it your favorite action film of the year? Or is it really boring, repetitive, and Keanu Reeves sucks as an actor, so I don't like watching his films? And let me know, what is your favorite Keanu Reeves film minus The Matrix? You can't use The Matrix, guys. I'm not gonna let you cop out like that. So comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. Got some awesome videos on their way, including 2 special videos for Valentine's Day, just to show you guys my love for you. So until those videos come, guys, if you'd like to support the Black Critic Guy just a smidge more, why not donate to my Patreon account? Link is in the description. And if you'd like to send me any fan letters, send it to this P.O. Box right up here. And if you'd like to be a part of the Black Critic crew and not miss out on a single awesome video on this channel, please hit that subscribe button below and like this video if you really enjoyed it. I'm Tony White II, the badass assassin known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.